Welcome to the Moorish algorithm. Okay, so welcome to Moorish algorithm. I'm going to be talking today about the Moroccan and English connection. The time period is going to be from 1492 to about 1650s to about 1650s. So some of the subjects that we're going to be touching on are the Barbary pirates, the new well, not really new religion, but new sect of Catholicism, Protestantism, or Protestants. Can't say that word. And the relationship between Ahmed al-Mansur and Queen Elizabeth, what they call the Elizabethan era. Black Tudors, so this would have been blacks living in England prior to England having any land to actually participate in the West African slave trade. Then comes a man by the name of Oliver Cromwell, which is a bunch of series of civil wars and wars within Europe, which would then further England's grip in the New World. Also with people like Francis Drake, what his role was in early England and the slave trade. Okay, so as I said in one of my last videos, the Barbary pirates, or how the Barbary actually came about, is because of the Moors not being able to run business anymore through the port of Granada. So Europe has basically annexed Moorish money out of Europe. Excuse me, and at this point, like I showed in one of my last videos, the Portuguese are already starting to bit by bit make their way down West Africa. So the Moors at this point, they, like I said, are without land. They need money. They're raiding all of southern Europe's borders, and even places in northern Europe, but obviously it's no way to live, as we'll see with people like Ahmed al-Mansur, and he lived like almost, no, he would have been, yeah, he lived about 100 years after the expulsion of Granada, but he would even still have ambitions of retaking Spain. Obviously these ambitions never came true, as the Moors would have been basically caught in a billion other wars afterwards, which would deter their plans from ever reconquering Granada or Al-Andalus. But from the inception of the Barbary pirates comes the need for them to make treaties. You're extorting, but then again, you're living on water. You don't really have any base. All your coastal areas are under siege as well. All those places in northern Algeria, Morocco, like Ceuta, and they would or Oran. The Spanish had already, or within these couple of wars, within the Barbary Wars, they would be making forts on the northern shore of Africa. So with all this being said, the Moors eventually end up getting help through Queen Elizabeth. So yes, Queen Elizabeth is she is a very interesting figure. She would have been around. She was in the royal family of the Tudors. She would have been someone that would have seen black people on a daily basis within her realm. We see a lot of different articles with her regarding the black Moors. I'll read you here some. Okay, so in in around 1600, the presence of black people had become an issue for the English government. Their numbers recently increased by many slaves freed from captured Spanish ships. The presence of black people suddenly came to be seen as a nuisance in 1601 among the Cecil papers still held at Hatfield House, where this is seen. The Queen is discontented. The great number of niggers and blackamoors which are crept into the realm since the troubles between Her Highness and the King of Spain are fostered here to the annoyance of her own people. The great numbers which were mainly galley slaves and servants. So as we see through the wars in Spain and Granada, blacks that would have been captured in Iberia would have been in a slave status. So this, it's kind of funny. So we need to talk about at the same period how they would have had something called Los Negros Conquistadores, or like the Black Conquerors. But like I had stated before, Portuguese and Spanish is not stupid. They would not use the Moors that are from the Mediterranean, or they wouldn't use the Moors that were from Iberia. They wouldn't use the Moors that were from Morocco. No, they had already been trading with Moors in what would be modern day Angola, Congo, and almost at the southern tip of Africa. So all those northern tip Africans would have already been aware that, you know, I'm gonna have to show an article where the Spanish was talking about the Mediterranean back in the 1600s. For them, it was a scary place, the Mediterranean, to cross it, because at any point Moors could pop up, capture you, and try to ransom you. If not, if you didn't have the money, you were stuck in the Barbary. Now, a very important question I guess the Moors must ask: if Queen Elizabeth had a connection with Ahmed al-Mansur, and they had correspondence, they were sending on representatives to each other's countries. Queen Elizabeth participated in numerous amounts of blockades. There's a whole bunch of connection between them. Why is Queen Elizabeth later seen writing such things as trying to get the Moors banned out of the realm? Now I'll show you an article. I'll show you what she says, and you have to kind of read it. But what I believe the reason why she had to say that is because her living in Europe, she would have had a whole bunch of Catholic, the papacy behind her. So with that being said, her best option was to try to make a front and make it seem as if she was expelling the Moors and not using the Moors as a basically in a proxy war against Spain. Obviously she was, because as I will show you in some articles with the Barbary pirates and and they even had a company together. It was actually called the what was it? They had the Barbary Company. That's what it was called, the Barbary Company, and they had the Levant Company. So the connection between them is clear as day. But she looks like, and I'm gonna read what she said here. She said the Oh, the queen is discontented at the great number of niggers and blackamoors which are crept into the realm since the troubles between her highness and the king of Spain, and have fostered here to the annoyance of her own people. Now, maybe at the same time, she is kind of racist. These people, the culture's a lot different, Moors and English, but at the same time, she knows she needs them. Without the Moors, there's no way that she could get these products. Remember, they were trading sugarcane from Morocco way prior to Jamaica and these colonies. They were getting sugar from northern Africa. That's where a lot of those plantations were. So at this time period, like I said, big connection, and something we need to look more into. Another very important person is in the history, in this timeline, would be Oliver Cromwell. He is a famous politician in the 1700s. He got the Charles, the King of England, he got his head chopped off. He was involved in a bunch of civil wars. But why I'm talking about Oliver Cromwell is because Oliver Cromwell ended up capturing Jamaica, and within this time period, Oliver Cromwell was very anti-Catholic, so it allowed this new party, which ended up being called the Parliamentarians, which he ran an army called the New Model Army. They end up capturing Jamaica and signing a treaty with the First Maroon Treaty, so which basically allowed the Moroccans to get to Jamaica, but not under their banner and flag. It would have been under the banner and flag of England, which would have made the Moroccans safe because they would have been subject to England. Sure, a very interesting character in this timeline, and a very important person in the timeline that we're talking about in regards to Morocco and England. Okay, so basically to sum it all up, from 1492 until 1650, Britain didn't have any rights to any land in the Americas. Remember, the Pope had given all the lands to Portugal and Spain, so that was their manifest destiny. I guess you could say manifest destiny. Their what they felt that was allotted to them from God. So in the early part of the trade, England would have been still seen as slaves. Like I said, with Francis Drake, he was actually fired upon in Mexico by Spanish fleet for saying that he didn't have letters of marque to operate in Spanish waters selling slaves. So this would have led to the war between Elizabeth and Queen Elizabeth in Spain, which would have then let the Moors to have sided with Elizabeth in around that period. Later, the Treaty of Madrid would have been signed between England and Spain over the lands of Jamaica and other Caribbean possessions, as well as New York and certain colonies. And if it wasn't for people like Oliver Cromwell capturing Jamaica and basically taking it from the Papal States, which would have been the Roman Catholic Church, Jamaica would still have been called Santiago. So it's very interesting, those turn of events, as I'll talk about in later events. 1663, when the English had finally had a hold of Jamaica, Juan de Wallace, which was one of the first Maroons in Jamaica had made a contract with the English. So that would have been the very first Maroon Treaty. Although there would have been other blacks that I will talk about, which in Spanish they call Negro Miguel, but at a later date I'll talk about that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Morocco and English Connection. Leave any comments if you have any suggestions at time periods you want to see, or if you just want to dialogue. Leave a message. Put something below, and like and subscribe. Thanks. Peace.